What's up, y'all? Today we're going to take a look at a video from Moon on YouTube. Make some great videos, so I'll link to them down below for you to check them out. We're going to watch their video here. This one says how Instagram changed women forever. I saw this and I could not resist watching it with you, talking about it, because I think it's safe to say without any doubt that Instagram is single-handedly the biggest social media platform that changed our society because of perception. Let's see what this video has to say.
If one trend of 2023 shows how far we've fallen, it was the Barbie Botox. Named after the toy's signature long neck, the procedure spread like wildfire on Instagram after the release of the film. A series of injections to the trapezius muscles in the neck renders them unable to contract, which lowers your shoulders and makes your neck look slightly longer. Despite the risk of muscle paralysis and severe pain, thousands of people rushed out to get this hot new treatment. But this is a very recent phenomenon. No one did this in the past. No movie made people do this kind of thing. And that's when you realize that the Barbie Botox is just the tip of a massive iceberg, a trend that's hiding behind the surface. You see, the plastic surgery industry has been booming for years off the back of Instagram and TikTok. Invasive procedures go in and out of fashion every month, as a young impressionable audience goes from one insecurity to another.
This is fundamentally the problem with Instagram and even now TikTok. Instagram is the OG though, because remember, it was Instagram that came first. Instagram was the first social media app that really truly focused on the aesthetic of everything, the aesthetic of life, the aesthetic of lifestyle, the aesthetic of vlogging, all of that. It was all about the look of a perception of what you wanted people to think, you know, your life was all about, and that fueled all of this. And it's such an epidemic now of women undergoing unnecessary plastic surgeries and harming themselves.
Fed to them by Instagram's algorithm. Meanwhile, celebrities and influencers work hand in hand with the industry, making promotional posts and boasting about their procedures and the results. As new procedures dip in and out of fashion, influencers target people's mental weaknesses and make a fortune drumming up clients for the industry. And now that plastic surgery is growing fastest among young adults, looking to replicate the inhuman perfection they see on the app, it's time we really expose how Instagram is quite literally changing the face of the world. At the time of its founding, it would have been nearly impossible to predict the rise of Instagram into one of the biggest social media apps in the world. But looking back, it's easy to see that all the right ingredients were there for massive success. It all goes down to the founders Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger. The pair originally met while studying at Stanford, and even before they had started their careers, they were being headhunted by the big names in tech. Kevin Systrom even turned down an internship at Facebook to spend time studying photography in Italy. Kevin would go on to intern at Odeo, a small app which would later become Twitter, and afterwards he would then get headhunted by Google and work there for 2 years. But even after a short time in the industry, Kevin was frustrated. He had just been passed up for a promotion and was sick of the culture of the company, and went against all the original ideas of Silicon Valley. Kevin wanted to fully throw himself into a creative idea and exploit an opening in the market by building something of his own. Kevin knew his old college friend Mike was just as ambitious as he was, and so he thought he would explain his vision for a new app, something he would tell Forbes in an interview a few years later. Mike Krieger and I created Instagram because we wanted a way to communicate visually. We realized that
genius. It was a genius app. Let's be honest. I mean, to have an app that essentially was a photo book, right? Like a old school, you know, like my grandmother, rest in peace, you know, had the photo books, old ones, still got them. And when she passed, she gave me one for me. Like that was all of me and memories with, you know, to have a digital version of that is pretty incredible. It's a great concept, but it just, the unintended consequences of the design, you know, with the algorithms and the likes.
All these photos with our iPhones that would sit on our camera roll, and it felt like they should be seen, not necessarily because they were good photos, but because a photo that no one sees isn't really that interesting. Every photo you take communicates something about a moment in time, a brief slice of time of where you were, who you were with, and what you were doing. And funnily enough, their idea would prove to be one of the most lucrative ideas of the 21st century.
I'd even go so far as to say, when you think about what life is, you don't ever remember every moment of every part of your life, but you do remember are moments throughout your life. And I think that's what Instagram really encapsulated, was this idea that you can take those moments of your life that you experience through your eyes, but now also with your phone, capture them to then put there as these life markers. You know, if you really look through, even if you look through my Instagram, if you dig all the way past all my React videos, there, all of my prior life in the music industry is there. All the photos, all the artists, all the interviews, all this stuff is buried underneath all the funny videos that I have up now, you know, because that's been the progression and all that stuff, but it's still there. And I'll not often, but every now and again, I'll dig through all the way back there and I'll look and I'll be like, oh, wow, I remember that moment. That, you know, it brings back those memories. And I think that's what's so great about, you know, the concept of Instagram, which was allowing you to capture those moments to then be able to more easily remember them.
Kevin and Mike immediately got to work on Instagram, pouring everything they had into this new app. And in just 2 weeks, they had already secured $500,000 of funding from investors and were starting to get it ready to launch to the public. But it still wasn't easy. It took the pair a year of work to get everything ready, but they still weren't prepared for what would happen next. Now, there was plenty of interest in the app, and they could tell this from the demos. And so as soon as they launched the app, within just the first week, Instagram had gained over 100,000 users in 2010. This was the highest amount of users gained for any single social media.
I don't remember when I
history.
got on Instagram. I don't remember.
The app and the infrastructure wasn't enough to keep up with the massive influx of users. The new company that barely had anyone working for it had already far exceeded expectations, and so they would have to invest tons back in just to keep the app functional, with back-end tweets and more processing power. And so the first year was just a mad rush to keep up with the user base, with Kevin and Mike sacrificing everything in their lives to keep it afloat. But just when they thought they had gotten on top of the growth, there would be more crashes and more problems to deal with. But as time went on and they streamlined the process, their hard work was richly rewarded. You see, investors saw this and knew they had to get a piece of the pie. In less than 2 months after its launch, the app already hit 1 million users, and Instagram was injected with $7 million of investor funding, particularly through System Silicon Valley connections. And users just loved how you could make your photos look so much better than other apps like Facebook. And the key here was filters. Brought in relatively early on to make up for the poor quality of smartphone cameras at the time, the introduction of various photo filters would prove revolutionary. With the touch of a button, users could iron out their wrinkles, cover up any blemishes, and transform their mundane experiences into picturesque moments.
I think I might have to now, as I rethink this, as we're going through this video, Instagram in itself was great, but maybe, just maybe, it was filters that was the demise. Because look how filters are essentially abused on Instagram or in Snapchat and every other app now. Everything has a filter to further filter the reality of whatever that piece of content, picture or video is, right? You're using beautification filter to, like just said right here, remove the wrinkles on your face, or you're using a filter to give something a certain look, to portray it in a certain way. You know what I mean? Like, we live in a filtered world right now, and it's taken away from the realness of it all. And that's kind of like the sad part of all of this, is that we're losing the reality of life and living in a filtered world. And maybe that's essentially what is the most problematic part about Instagram, or well, Instagram first created it, right? But this now applies to TikTok and any other app. Like Facebook has filters, I think, as well. You know, all of them pretty much.
What was meant as a simple fix for the lacking technology of the time took on a life of its own.
Wait, Escobar said, I remember laughing at people because it was so obvious people had filters. Now it's just normal. Yeah, I remember that too. I used to be like, oh, you're so corny. You're so this. I understood when women did it. I was like, all right, whatever. But yeah, you're right. Now it's so normalized. Guys use it. Women use it. And then it makes you wonder, like, are you really who you are portraying yourself to be? I want to see you without the filter, and I want to see you without the makeup on. And can I just see you who you are? You know, now there's so many layers of filters, both physical filters through makeup, and through angles. Because let's be honest too, you know, how you take a photo on this angle, it hides certain things, right? Angles is another big component of pictures and videos. You know, you get certain angles to hide and be more flattering to the individual. So between the two, it's been a way to mask the reality of everything.
Filters gave Instagram an air of perfection and artistic expression that transcended the dull, boring photos your relatives were posting on Facebook at the time. Although Kevin and Mike could never have foresaw what they had really created and how this would be used in the future. But at the same time that Kevin and Mike were building the photo app of the future, something else was going on. Other people were laying the groundwork for an entirely different way to push past the limits of natural beauty. Now, if you're going to blame anyone for the massive rise in plastic surgery, then you'd have to talk about people like the Kardashians. They were unique among celebrities at the time because they truly offered nothing except for their image and their lifestyle. Coming to fame in 2007 after her viral sex tape, Kim and the gang went on to hold their 15 minutes of fame and stretched it out over multiple decades. Kim and her family's signature look exploded onto modern culture and still has an effect on beauty standards today. The modern world's obsession with full lips, big butts, and stenciled eyebrows is in large part thanks to them. Of course, the image they sold to the world so easily didn't really bear any relation to reality. First, as you can probably guess, there's all the cosmetic surgeries and procedures they've gone through to get there, then countless layers of makeup, professional photography, and Photoshop around
Exactly.
it all. But out of thousands of those photos,
Sorry, what's
only a
up?
select few
DC,
were
what's
chosen
up?
to be shown to the public. Before the rise of social media, this kind of deception was only available to the rich and famous. Even their own influence alone has a huge effect on the cosmetic surgery industry. When a 17-year-old Kylie Jenner boasted of getting lip fillers to achieve her signature look, online searches for the procedure went up by over 3,000%. The so-called Brazilian butt lift procedures have only grown in popularity thanks to Kim and her family. The procedure involves a surgeon taking fat deposits from elsewhere on the body and then transferring them to the buttocks. Between 2000 and 2018, the amount of butt lift procedures has risen by over 250%. Over time though, the procedures fades away and the results disappear, so regular procedures are required to keep it up. Even the Kardashians themselves regretted the procedure in the end, with Kim recently admitting that she'd stopped having her top-ups. The procedure is massively popular, but also incredibly risky compared to other cosmetic surgery.
This is the part that's not talked about enough. Not everyone, but a lot of women, especially the ones that live on social media, that have like no life outside of social media, which is it's a lot. This is the part that they either aren't aware of or ignore because of what, you know, of the outcome they want. They're willing to sacrifice it all just to have the look, just to have that. And that is insane.
When it goes wrong, people can get nasty infections and sometimes require surgery to remove the implants.
BBL
or if the
Drizzy,
fat
chill.
gets into the bloodstream, it can actually cause embolisms and blockages to vital organs. 1 in every 4,000 people die as a result of the complications, which is what led to the UK banning it in 2018. Eventually, they reversed the decision in 2022 after bringing in new safety regulations, but there's still a whole world of unlicensed practitioners performing a different version of the procedure. While they're not allowed to perform the surgical version with the potentially fatal side effects, they're still allowed to blindly inject people with artificial substances. It's not like the UK's ban really did anything anyway. The people who were determined enough to
they
get it
fly
done
out.
were freely able to just go abroad to places
Turkey.
like Turkey or Mexico, where the procedure is completely legal and often mostly unregulated and far cheaper. Even today, there's countless adverts for this all over Facebook and Instagram. But nothing has promoted plastic surgery and made the world more plastic and fake than it's ever been, like Instagram. The Kardashians might have remained in the background for most people, ending up as has-been stars like so many before them. But instead, their recipe for success based on their looks and their status alone was about to go global. And that was all thanks to Instagram. But how did an innocent photo sharing website become the money-making machine it is today? The answer is Mark Zuckerberg. You see, Zuck's vision for a social media business was a lot different compared to Kevin Systrom or Mike Krieger. While they were thinking about how to make money from people's photos, Mark was interested in commodifying the people instead. Even before Mark started Facebook, he had already demonstrated his true feelings towards his users.
Goddamn fucking Zuckerberg. Oh, we are live on Instagram. Hi, Mark. Yeah. It's a great platform. Glad to be here. Please keep on giving me views. Yeah.
While he's rejected that the film The Social Network was true in his account of his website FaceMash.
Right, like they just can't wrap their head around the idea that someone might build something because they like building things.
The evidence shows that it wasn't that far off. Articles from Harvard newspapers show how he plundered Harvard's registers for pictures of people's faces. He then used these to create a website where people could rank each other on attractiveness, while the backend secretly assigned them their own rating out of 10. While it was quickly shut down, the stunt informed the future development of Facebook to a massive degree. Facebook did the same thing in turning its users into the product, just in a more sinister way. It was all about maximizing engagement for users, whilst plundering all the possible data they could find, and then selling this to advertisers and giving them easy targets for their campaigns was the final step in the profit machine.
If you don't know this already, this is not exclusive to Facebook, but if you're on the social media app, we are the product. Okay? We are the product. If you do not know this, now you know. We are the product. They give us these little cool toys to play with, so we can go, oh yeah, I'm gonna be on this app and have fun, do all this stuff, and get enraged by rage bait and clickbait and all these crazy conversations that aren't reality. So you're spending all your life on these apps. Meanwhile, they're collecting all the data to then sell it to advertisers to then push ads in front of you. You are the product, okay? It's not Instagram as the product. That's just a little thing to get our attention. So we sit on those apps and they accumulate more and more off of us to then shove more and more ads in front of our faces.
Whilst these weren't new ideas, Zuckerberg perfected them at Facebook. A combination of aggressive data hoarding and addictive design practices turned Facebook into one of the biggest companies in the planet, almost overnight. But already by the early 2010s, and Zuckerberg knew deep down that Facebook would be on the way out at the end of the decade, as he was failing to capture the next generation, and was losing out to younger, more organic apps like Instagram. Meanwhile, things weren't amazing at Instagram either. Sure, growth was solid and the business was doing well, but after 2 years of grinding away, Kevin and Mike were sick of doing it alone. Now, they had built up a team by this point, but it was always an uphill struggle to keep up with the growth of the app. Some sort of merger or acquisition would put an end to these troubles. It would give them all the investments they needed, with the added bonus of the infrastructure to push Instagram to the next level. So after turning down a few other suitors, Kevin and Mike sold the company almost entirely to Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook in 2012.
Americans share
For
photos
$1 billion,
on Instagram.
Someone look up and see how much Instagram is worth right now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, $1 billion, don't get me wrong, $1 billion, if they split that, they got 500 mil each or whatever, it's still a crazy amount of payday, and maybe they still have equity in it. I don't know what kind of deal they got when they sold or whatever, but I wonder what Instagram's worth is right now. It's got to be astronomical.
A company with only 13 employees bought today by Facebook for $1 billion.
At first, it seemed like they made the right choice. Kevin and Mike were still semi-independent, and they were free to grow the app however they wanted. And through the intelligent use of their new resources, Instagram had exploded in popularity. Within a year, they hit 50 million users, then 100 million a few months afterwards. But this all came at a cost, because it wasn't long before Mark came in to slowly force the founders out, along with their original principles, allowing Facebook to make changes to the app and its business model forever.
That he injected Facebook into Instagram. I actually remember when, I don't remember the year this happened. They might talk about it now, but I do remember when news broke that the founders of Instagram chucked the deuces and left and stuff like that. Like they were they had enough of dealing with Mark Zuckerberg and some shit.
In 2014, Facebook pushed for changes to the data hoarding practices, making the app use Facebook's invasive tactics. A year later, they gave advertisers far more power on the app, letting them run 30-second adverts and buying products directly through the app. Compromising your personal information and data security with the new hands of Mark Zuckerberg, a man notorious for exploiting all of your information and using it against you. That's why while you're exploring services like Instagram, every sign-up or interaction might expose you to potential spam, scams, or identity theft. But imagine navigating these apps like Instagram with complete control over your personal information, never having to compromise your privacy for the sake of convenience. Well, this is where our video sponsor Cloak steps. The most insidious changes that happened when Zuckerberg took over Instagram were far more subtle. In 2014, Instagram added a whole suite of different editing tools. The app went from a place to post filtered pictures of your real life into a showroom for the best looking photos of yourself that you could possibly create.
Exactly.
By 2016, they made it so algorithms would decide what photos the app would show you. Instead of giving you a timeline of the photos that your friends had posted, Instagram would only show what it thought you would engage with the most.
This is to this day what I hate about the vast majority of social media is they took away the chronological timeline. If I followed 1,000 people, right, let's say for example, I want to see whatever was posted in chronological order so I can catch up for the day up to whatever point I get online and check it. I want that. Vast majority of people want chronological timelines. Here's the thing though, chronological timelines do not work for these social media apps. It doesn't allow them to effectively keep you on there longer and hooked like a fucking drug. Because if you go on there and let's say you follow 1,000 people, let's say out of those 1,000 people, 20 are really active and you only really see 20 people post for the day. And it takes you 3 minutes to scroll through the 20 posts that they may have made, then you're off the app. That doesn't work. That's not sticky enough. So they change it to the algorithmic, what we think you're going to interact with. And now it works. It's sticky as shit. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at my stuff, if I were to go to my explore page on Instagram right now, in fact, let me look, we'll see what happened right now. Let's see. Because most times it is, let's see, explore. Yeah, I mean, like, let me show y'all. Just so random. Look what's on my, I got, can you see this? Let me get the focus here. Like random BBLs, some weird bodybuilding dude. Like what? I don't know what this is. I don't even look up thirst trap content on my Instagram at all. But you know, there's that. It's so trash. It's so trash, man. And they won't give us the chronological stuff, man. They really won't. They're gonna force us to stick with the 4Us and the algorithmic stuff so that it keeps us on the app longer.
Laying the groundwork for,
because why, folks? Remember, as I said earlier, we are the product, and in order to maximize their profits, they need the product to stay on the platform longer, to accumulate more data, to feed you more ads.
the addictive design that Facebook had already mastered. When Facebook began pushing for location tracking, it was the final straw for Kevin and Mike. They hated the direction the app was taking. They saw that Zuckerberg was using their app as a machine that turned people's addictions into a weapon against humanity. They thought that Zuck's push for maximum engagement would lead to some of the worst problems that we see today in society. The environment on Instagram was now a constant competition to get the most followers and the most likes on your photos, always having to look the best you possibly could for the algorithm, with the aid of Instagram's inbuilt Photoshop. Unlike the founders, Zuckerberg didn't care at all that the problems on the app would soon spill over into society. As long as it kept making him billions, it didn't matter. Eventually in late 2018, Kevin and Mike gave up fighting against the tide and just decided to leave the company entirely, leaving Mark Zuckerberg free to fully realize his plans for Instagram, and this has had an awful effect on society ever since. You see, plastic surgery was still a niche industry up until this point. It was only reserved for medical purposes, Hollywood actors and trophy wives. It wasn't nearly as common as it was today, but all of this changed with the arrival of Instagram in the early 2010s. Almost overnight, we saw a rapid transformation in how people presented themselves online, and the images of people we see. Now, we've already discussed what the Kardashians and other celebrities would do to get the perfect picture. After the surgeries, camera angles, and airbrushing, the final image is barely recognizable as the person it depicts. Instagram puts this power into the hands of the people. With the high-powered camera in people's pockets, they could take what would have been a normal photo, add a filter and some Photoshop to it, and create a vision of perfection. All the little flaws and blemishes that make people human got ironed out.
Exactly.
Now nearly anyone could achieve the level of unrealistic perfection that graced magazine covers for years. On its own, this would have been troubling. For decades, people worried about the negative effect on people's self-esteem and self-image that beauty magazines and Hollywood had. But Instagram took this to the next level. 100 times
Facetune.
by
Facetune
turning it
was
into
the
a
thing.
global competition with millions of fans and billions of dollars on the line for the winners. So of course, it wasn't long before people realized that to win this game, you had to go as far as possible. For the Instagram algorithm to bless you, you had to do whatever it took. The more focused on your image you were, the more money and popularity you could get as an influencer, constantly being dangled over you, your feed showing you all these people sucked into the same Instagram algorithm, tapping into all your primal needs, playing into men's sexual urges, and for everybody's desire for fame and
thirst
attention.
traps.
It became about selling the illusion of perfection. For a successful influencer, every photo pushed this narrative a bit further.
Look at those
forward.
fake
They
ass
showcased
lips.
their perfect bodies,
Duck
their
lips.
perfect lives, relaxing by pools, in million-dollar yachts, penthouses across the world, smiling with their equally perfect friends. It didn't matter that none of this was actually real and that it was all a fantasy. I mean, strip away the filters and the staged moments, and you'd just be left with a sad picture of self-obsession and insecurity. Living this way and focusing your whole life on your image is a terrible recipe for disaster. You would expect models, the people who are selected by society,
like catfishing
as the
without
best looking
catfishing.
people
It is
in the world,
catfishing.
to have the least problems with
It is.
critiquing their own appearance. But in fact, it's the opposite. Over 40% struggle with body dysmorphia and disordered eating. But this was just for models. This used to just be for these kinds of people whose entire livelihoods depended on their image. But in the last few years, Instagram has globalized its toxic mindset because of the results of its grand competition for visual perfection. All of the perfect illusions illusions posted by influencers online were eaten up by the hundreds of millions of users Instagram gained in just a few short years. Some parts of Instagram culture, like using filters and photoshopping your selfies, entered the mainstream and affected the rest of the internet. It all had the effect of making everyone subconsciously disappointed with their own comparatively boring lives. If you weren't part of the influencer elite, then your life looked worse than the ones you'd see online every single day. And if you didn't have the flawless figure and perfect face like the influencers, then you just weren't good enough to join the club. The algorithm wouldn't bless you. You'd just be left in the bottom of the barrel, constantly refreshing your likes to see if anyone would give you more attention.
I see this a lot when I go on TikTok, and every so often on my For You page, it'll be somebody talking about how Instagram has fallen off, and you know, they make a post, there's no engagement, and then I go in the comments and everyone's like, yeah, you know, I only get the same 10 or 100 likes, I don't get any exposure on my photos, or yada yada yada, and that is essentially what we're talking about here, right? What he's talking about right now, which is, you know, people are posting for the purpose of getting likes and attention instead of, I guess what you should be doing is posting it to capture the memory, right? Like it should be there to be your digital photo album or your digital video, you know, album and stuff like that. But so many people want to be validated on the internet, which is just a wild concept, you know. Like what is some strange people you have no connection with liking your stuff and commenting and gushing over you? What is it? What is it going to serve? You know, but that's the culture we have come into because of these algorithms and social media. You know what I'm saying? That's why Instagram is so dangerous for young girls and teenage girls, women in general, but especially younger girls. Oh my God. The best thing you could do is keep your kid, your young daughter, young family member, your young girl, you know, and your family away from Instagram as long as possible, because it creates a lot of this insecurity.
And over time, this has led to a huge rise in insecurity, mental illnesses, and body dysmorphia amongst young people in particular. All the perfection made people think that the natural imperfections that everyone else has was something to be ashamed of. Inevitably, influencers were ready to swoop in and sell solutions to the problem they had made worse, most of them promoting harmless temporary fixes like their own cosmetic brands and makeup. The Kardashians would gain hundreds of millions of followers on Instagram, and then promote their makeup lines, making billions in the process. But for some of these Instagram-fueled insecurities, there was only one way to really change it. If you wanted a bigger butt like the models on Instagram, a slimmer waistline, bigger boobs, or for guys a better jawline, a better face, plastic surgery was the easiest and quickest option. It didn't matter that it was fake. If it worked for other people, it would work for you too. The whole insecurity was built on fake image to begin with. And so Instagram has duped tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of people into thinking they had a real problem, and that the only way to fix this problem would be through medical procedures. If you could just save up enough money, maybe you could look like your idol. Maybe then you could get enough likes and attention to finally feel worthy. Little do people realize it's an endless problem that you'll never be happy with. Of course, plastic surgery won't fix your insecurities. After one procedure is over, something else pops up that needs to be fixed. Realistically, even if you don't mind plastic surgery, it's still better in moderation. A few touch-ups could be seen as a positive thing if it doesn't lead to more insecurity, but the beauty standards that Instagram was pushing didn't push people towards moderation. Instead, they made everyone else want to look the same. And the more of your friends that got plastic surgery, the more of your idols that got surgery, the bigger the desire you'd have yourself for getting surgery.
Let me say this about the point about getting these surgeries to look the same. I have never in my life, and this is specific to social media, because out in the real world, as I'm out and about in life in Chicago, I do see women in the variety of women in terms of looks, the aesthetic, right? But on social media, I have never seen it ever in my life where I see so many of the same looking ass women. What do I mean by that? It's like an archetype. It's like, if for those of you that play video games, it's like when you go to character select, it's like the Instagram BBL baddie archetype. You know, the perfect example is like a Nicki Minaj or Cardi B, right? They got the front lace wig or the weave or whatever. They got the lips all puffed up and duck lips. They shot it up with Botox. They got the breast augmentations. They've got the super snatched waist, because Lord knows, I don't know, maybe they took a rib or two out. That's what I'm guessing. And then they got this ridiculous BBL. It's, you know, sometimes they're okay looking, other times they're just bad. You know, it looks like, as I always say, it looks like a goddamn olive on a toothpick. You ever put an olive on a toothpick, but like put it horizontally, so it's like the long way, it's horizontal, and you stick it on there. It's like a skinny ass leg with just this ridiculous butt. It don't even make no sense why someone would even want to look that bad with a BBL. But it's a real archetype. They got their makeup done. You know, they all look like Meg Thee Stallion in the face. It almost like, and like Meg's a pretty woman, don't get me wrong, but in her face, she always looks so, she looks like easy to draw. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, she has a very simple looking ass face, but like so many women are trying to replicate that simple looking ass face and with the rest of the hair, the aesthetic. And you look on social media, they all look alike. All these bitches look alike. They all look alike, carbon copies of each other in various shades and maybe some level of sizes, but aesthetically they're all the same looking ass bitches. It's wild. It's wild.
People call it the Instagram face, characterized by perfect skin, luscious and full lips, sharp cheekbones, and long eyelashes. It's become what millions of young women around the world dream of having. Of course, it's only possible with surgery, Botox, and Photoshop, and the world will move on to a different beauty standard before long. But
Escobar said, I have a male friend that got hair transplant and lips done recently that he didn't need it either. That's crazy. I mean, look, little Kim right here. Perfect example. I mean, that look with the hair, which clearly is a wig, with the face that has a very soft, simple looking ass face and stuff. I was here a nose job. Oh, it's a shame she did all that to herself, but
this hasn't stopped people from trying to achieve this illusion. It's especially noticeable in celebrities and promoted everywhere on Instagram's algorithm. Whether or not plastic surgery is involved, tons of models, singers, and movie stars have slowly changed their image to match the Instagram template. Ariana Grande is a good example. You can see the progression towards the Instagram singularity over time with this picture.
Look, yeah, look at the far right is the Instagram aesthetic. That is the look I'm trying to say. I don't know how else to describe it other than it's just that soft, easy looking face. Look at the other pictures here. Obviously she was younger, but to me, this is more telling of like who she is. And she might even had a nose. Yeah, she had a nose job, right? Look at the first picture here. Look at that one. Like, again, altering themselves into these Instagram aesthetic look. You know what I mean? And the earlier pictures, you can see the contour of her face. You can see she's got her own personality. This is just like the same face you see. The far right pictures, the same style of face you see on Instagram all the time.
Notice how her eyes have gone stretched out, her nose has changed, and her lips have gotten fuller. She's also lost an unhealthy amount of weight, which is a huge problem when it isn't healthy. Obviously, people can look whatever way they want to look, but there's something really sad about all of these young people getting duped into thinking their natural beauty isn't good enough. The modern standards that Instagram and its whole culture have imposed on people drives them to do this to themselves.
Yep.
Of course, that's not the only soul-destroying app that pushes people towards cosmetic surgery. Improving your performance on dating apps are also some of the top reasons people go under the knife. The most popular dating apps focus the courtship process almost purely on what people look like. People look at your picture for a second or two, then make a split-second decision on whether you meet their standards. You can easily see why plastic surgery would give you an advantage for this. Filters and editing helps, but it's too obvious if it's done poorly. An artificial face underneath all of that makes the final picture much more effective. Lots of the procedures that give you an Instagram face also work especially well with filters and airbrushing. So much so that some people design their own faces to look especially good in their online photos, whilst losing something when you actually look at them. While you may think the Instagram face looks good on Instagram,
look at that. Look at you see how they all have the same aesthetic to their face? That's what I'm talking about. It all looks the same. Bitches look the same.
Next to a group of normal people in real life, it just looks kind of strange and alien. One thing about all the ways Instagram has led to the rise in plastic surgery is that it doesn't discriminate by age. In fact, young people and even teenagers are much more susceptible to the coordinated attack on your self-image that Instagram delivers. While the Instagram face doesn't really bear any relation to people's natural faces, it is similar to someone who's in their early to late 20s. All the teenagers browsing Instagram and wishing they looked that good attempted to get procedures that made them look older rather than younger. This is the reason why plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures are growing fastest amongst people under 30, and even faster in teenagers. Some of these procedures are what's called preventative plastic surgery. People are getting Botox and other things done in order to prevent future wrinkles, not just fatten the ones already there. I mean, it's truly insane that people are trying to fix a false problem that hasn't even happened yet because of one app. Another far more disturbing procedure is buccal fat removal. It's been all the rage on Instagram for quite a while now because it matches the current beauty standards online. Even if you don't know what it really is, you'll recognize the effects. In the procedure, procedure, a surgeon makes cuts inside the mouth and removes what's called the buccal fat pad, which rests under the cheekbones. The result is far more prominent cheekbones and that sunken, hollow look that's all the rage right now. It makes you look far older and your face look thinner, but it's not without giant risks. The procedure itself can be painful and dangerous.
It's so stupid. That's so stupid. Because here's the thing, right? If you go to the gym and you work on your diet and what you take, you can shed the weight. Your face is one of the first places that you actually will lose weight from. The belly is the last, right? It's the hardest. Like the rest of your body, your arms, your face, your legs and shit, that if you're consistent, you'll make the biggest visible changes there first. You know what I mean? But no one wants to do that. Just want to get a quick fix, go under the knife, instead of maybe taking some months, being really dedicated to a plan, staying with it, being in a caloric deficit, and boom, you can shed it. What? Look, my face, I've lost a lot of weight in the last, I don't know, coming up on a year. June will be a year since I went back in the gym like really regularly. Last couple of months I slacked off, but life got me all kinds of fucked up right now. That being aside, the one of the first changes I noticed, and I could pull a picture, my face slimmed down in the face. You know what I'm saying? So Daylid said, bro, 25 years ago, we worked our asses off to even get near girls and hopefully Riz right. Facts. No possible research on someone. Now you can check IG, social media, and have a biased opinion on someone. What the fuck? That's true. But that is also why it's important and why you'll hear on social media people say your digital footprint, precedes you. Whatever you have on social media, like if I, like for example, if I meet a woman out and about, right? And first of all, I don't ever accept her social media. If I were to like Riz or whatever like that, I'm getting the number. If she even attempted to give me with the, well, here's you can have my Instagram. Sorry, girl, goodbye. Right? Don't ever accept that shit because that's just like some send off shit. So I get the number. We converse. I'll kind of get a feel for her, and in the conversation at some point, I'll figure out what the social media is. Then I'll go look. And I'll try to reconcile. Is the person that I'm talking to, how she's talking and who she's trying to portray, is that the same person that she's trying to portray on social media? And if them shits is off, dump her. Walk away, because it's a fucking lie, right? Either she's really who she is on social media, and not who she's trying to portray herself to you as, or it's the other way around. She's really who she is while she's talking to you, but she's trying to play as somebody else on social media. Get rid of them bitches. Get rid of them. Get what you need out of them if that's what you're trying to do. Smash them and pass or whatever. But yeah.
But as people get older, their faces naturally get thinner and the natural layer of fat on your face gets less prominent. It's an irreversible procedure. All of the people getting it might regret it in 10 years down the line, unless they were going for that skeletal look in the first place. If we want to look at where we might be in the future with the rise of cosmetic surgery, we only need to turn to South Korea. The country is in the future of plastic surgery.
What?
A third of Korean women aged 19 to 29 have undergone the knife.
A third of women in South Korea? What? Do you know how significant that is? On top of that, Korea, I don't know, they have this movement, the 4Bs. Have you guys heard about that? It's basically women that don't want to deal with men. It's like no to marriage, no to relationship, no to kids, no to some other shit. I don't remember. It's catching on here in the US now. Oh God. Oh boy.
And the numbers just keep on rising, especially amongst young people. 60% of South Korean high school students want to get surgery in the future. There's even stories of young people winning plastic surgery vouchers from their schools to help with their future careers.
What?
So what's going on here? And is this a warning for the future of the West? Well, one theory is that it's all part of a push towards stricter conformity.
Yeah, you know what? These motherfuckers want to be anime characters. I swear to God, I don't understand the fascination with like these K-pop motherfuckers and these anime looking ass people. I don't get it. They trying to really look like all these characters. They really, really are. I mean, look at this guy. He's got such fucking feminine facial features and shit, so soft, and these little girls gush over. I don't know, man. It's fucking weird. It's weird. It's weird. Rodrigo, what's up, bro? Ain't it? I know it can't be me. You know what I mean? Makes no sense.
And a move away from individualism. In a culture where your social standing and your reputation are highly valued, losing face can mean everything. Breaking cultural norms and deviating from what's expected of you can damage both you and your family's reputation. With so much value put on that by everyone else, people who break away get ostracized and excluded from society. One of the many problems that this can cause has come about with modern society's focus on looks and aesthetics, both in the West and in South Korea. While we might have Instagram face, it's a relatively new development compared to South Korea's rigid beauty standards. The same facial features are valued above all others and plastered on every billboard, commercial, TV show, and music video. Conforming to this standard has become the same as any other social rule or cultural pressure. It becomes almost rude to assault other people's eyes with your appearance if it doesn't match the cultural mold. Your face and how you look get wrapped up into the idea of success and happiness pushed by the rest of the culture. No wonder plastic surgery is so popular. It's become the difference between getting that promotion you've been working towards and missing out. The same thing that's happened in South Korea has also come to China as well. The industry is booming there now. The amount of people getting surgery increased by 600% between 2009 and 2018. This huge demand has led to a sharp spike in unlicensed and dangerous plastic surgery that's led to some truly horrifying results. And what
oh my god,
you're seeing here right now is the work of a mysterious figure known online as Dr. Kim.
What is that?
He came to prominence on TikTok after these videos showing his patients' uncanny transformations went viral. They're clear examples of what can go horribly wrong with plastic surgery. The facelifts are
what do they do? Like put a whole new skin on his face?
So tight, it looks completely unnatural, and people are paying a fortune for this. Their natural beauty has vanished under an artificial glaze, and you're left wondering whether they can even smile or
what? That is freaky, like horror movie level of freakiness.
frown anymore. Now, it makes sense through the lens of cultural conformity. The pressures to look young and attractive are so high that people are led to these extremes and are willing to do anything to achieve that sense of perfection, even going to unlicensed butchers like Dr. Kim. And Tuve's series investigating these images has led to some really dark stories, as it appears that Dr. Kim is not one person but a pseudonym used by a shady unlicensed plastic surgery company called Shanghai Huzong Medical Beauty Clinic. And from the evidence he gathered, they've been accused of using expired drugs, have been sued by multiple people and companies, and they've even trafficked counterfeited drugs to use in their practice. Whilst these pictures definitely aren't indicative of China's entire beauty industry, they do show where criminals can turn a profit from exploiting it. All the normal, even handsome people you see in the before pictures were
my sister really changed from 50-year-old little girl to after a fake that bro, what? Let me run this back. Run this back. Hold up.
all the normal,
That's the before. Ain't no way.
handsome people you see in the before
Ain't no way. You see how crazy of a transformation that is?
pictures were unhappy with how they looked because their culture made them insecure. It opened the door to criminals looking to make an easy buck, with no regard for what their victims will have to live with for the rest.
I mean, he looks like a horror where he got no lips. If this guy walks through the door, I'm immediately shooting. He looks like a villain from every slasher horror movie I've ever seen. Oh my god, he looks creepy.
Of their lives. And it seems like the West is moving farther towards this point of cultural conformity with the help of Instagram, the biggest promoter of these artificial beauty standards. Sure, there's more virtue signaling than ever. Everyday corporate media outlets tell people that differences are good and that we should love our own features and characteristics, whatever they might be. But at the same time, it does seem like we're going in the opposite direction.
Yep.
The pressures to have a perfect body and face is so high. Nearly everyone on TV and in films looks pretty much the same, all completely plastic, fake, and hollow. It doesn't matter what the context is in Hollywood now. If your shirt comes off in a movie, you need a six-pack and you need to be on steroids, and then also lie about it. The dating world is by far the best indicator for how selective people's beauty standards have become. With modern dating apps and our image-focused culture, your face needs to pass the swipe test before you can even play the game. More and more men and women get pushed out of the system, rejected because they no longer conform well enough to the modern Instagram face beauty standard and its male counterpart. And so much exposure to inhuman perfection on Instagram has warped people's standards and made a whole generation of lonely outcasts. There's even people talking about an incel revolution nowadays, as more and more people get pushed to the sidelines without any romantic interests, while at the same time, another huge section of people are becoming literally plastic. That's why you should never expose yourself to the toxic sludge that Instagram promotes.
Yep.
Because every time you go on the app, you're subtly, subconsciously becoming more and more insecure. Disconnecting from Instagram's twisted beauty standards means that you can actually truly appreciate people that the rest of the world might not even see.
Bravo, amazing work from Moon here on this video on how Instagram changed women forever. This is easily one of the saddest things to see here. How it's poisoned women's mind en masse on appearance, how they feel they need to look. And as he said, and I said here too, I've noticed it on social media too. So many women look the same. They look boring. They look boring. Same ass faces, contours, aesthetic. Bitches is boring. Give me a natural woman with a little bit of a touch up here and there. I'm good. And I think that's something that needs to be promoted and pushed forward. It's okay to be you as the way you were designed by God, if you believe in God or whatever. And I think the other thing here too is if you're not happy with something about you, because we all have things that we want to change about ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Myself included. You know what I'm saying? Still got to work on the tummy a little bit to get it back down and all that stuff. All you can do is work towards that, right? Put in the work. Get in the gym. It builds character when you're able to have that level of discipline, man or woman, to make that commitment. Get your eating habits in order. You know what I mean? Stop eating bullshit. Stop ordering out. Learn to cook a little bit more. Cook healthier options. Little shit like that can have the natural impact that you are looking to achieve without having to risk your life in the process for some dumb shit because you saw on Instagram. So sad. I hope more women actually, wake up from this delusional shit of social media. I really do.